If you own a rental investment or even a second home, inevitably the question is going to come up on when do you decide to sell it? As we get older, sometimes our plans change, our lifestyle changes, and our goals change with our investment properties. I want to go through with you three things to consider when you're looking at what you're planning on doing as you get older with the investment property or the short-term rental that you have here along the Grand Strand. I got a call about a week and a half ago from a past client who has got several units along the ocean front that they've had for years, and they are in the process of determining what time or what the timing is as they divest out of them and change kind of their investment strategy, not only with properties but the other things that they have in their assets. And we walked through a couple of questions with them that I wanted to share with you that I think are helpful because, first of all, it's not a one size fits all. There's never a perfect time to sell for everybody. There's never a perfect time to buy for everybody. But I think if you use these questions as a guide, it will help you determine whether or not it's the right time for you to make a move based on your position. So the first thing to consider is, do you look at this still as an investment, or is it more of a second home? And there's two different strategies with each of those. When you look at an investment property is primarily driven by the performance that it has. The challenge is that most of the people that buy along the Grand Strand and they're buying short-term rentals or they're buying vacation homes, there is a usage. There's an emotional side of that purchase. Many buyers buy them. They want the performance to be as good as possible. They're going to rent them. They want to get income from them. They don't want them to lose money. But over time, they are factoring in some of that usage. That's part of the strategy. You know, if we can come down, we can use it for a few weeks, then that's part of the benefit that they're getting from the unit. Over time, though, people's lifestyles change. I've talked to hundreds and hundreds of clients through the years where they bought it when the kids were young. The kids used it all the time. They took vacations here. And why not own something versus going and renting somebody else's unit? All of a sudden, the kids got a little bit older. They started doing travel sports. They were involved in other things. They used it less. A few more years go by. The kids are in high school. They're doing things on their own. The kids go off to college, and now nobody's using it. And they're figuring whether or not the unit makes the most financial sense. So the first question that you have to ask is this still an investment property and a second home that you're getting some use and enjoyment out of? Or is it truly just an investment because the usage is no longer part of the equation? If the usage is no longer part of the equation, then sometimes financially you could find a better performing asset. The next thing to consider is, would you buy it again today? As people's lifestyles change, as their goals change, then you have to look and say, do the investments that I own make sense if I was going to reevaluate them today? So if you take that last example, something that made sense 10 years ago when the kids were younger, you're taking vacations at the beach and using all the amenities, and you were going to be doing that somewhere anyway and spending the money, it could make all the sense in the world to own a condo that you're renting short term. Fast forward 10 or 15 years and you're not using that property anymore. Expenses have gone up, usage has gone down. It may not make as much sense. And one of the best things to look at to determine whether or not that's the case is, if you didn't own it today, with the current performance that it has, your current income, your current cash on hand, your other investments that you have, would you buy that same investment? If you pause and say, you know what, I might not because I have other opportunities, it may be worth considering selling it now, because if you're choosing to own something today, it's just like rebuying it. So you're looking and saying, well, if I put it on the market today and I sold it, then I'd get X amount. But to me, it's worth keeping it. So you're essentially buying it each day that you keep it. Not a bad decision, but you just want to look and find out, does that make sense with my current situation? Has it changed from when I bought it? Would I repurchase this same exact unit? Or would I see other opportunities, either for the time that I spend somewhere in a different market, the cash that I could generate from that sale, eliminating the negative cash flow potentially, and what you'd be able to do with that? If you put that to that litmus test of, would I rebuy it today? a lot of times it opens our eyes onto what the actual goal is for the property. And lastly, how is this property impacting your estate planning? A lot of times people get to the point where they've owned things for so long, and a lot of times they've built up a significant amount of equity that it's just kind of easier to maintain status quo. And they look and say, well, I've had it for this long. What would cause me to get rid of it now? Well, there's a few things. One would be opportunity cost. Over a period of years, you can depreciate an asset like real estate, a real property, to the point where you're not getting a lot of tax benefits now. We're right now in the second or third quarter of 2025, and you can look at the new rules that have come out, and bonus depreciation is back in the mix. You could have a huge opportunity cost with the property that's been fully depreciated compared to just selling that, buying into something else that now, if you're in a position of needing those tax benefits, that it could make a lot of sense to flip out of one into the other. But estate planning long-term can have a big impact on whether you decide to hold something or decide to get out of it at that point. Also, in the estate, is it going to be a simple transfer? Or over the years, have you kind of put aside some of the things that you need to make sure that that is deeded correctly? Is it in a trust? Is it positioned to where it's going to pass through to whoever is in your estate easily? Are there going to be tax implications that maybe they're not going to be prepared for? So that one's not a great one to think about, obviously, because when you're talking about estate planning, you're talking about major changes that are happening with property and with your loved ones, but it's an important part of the process. So if you're considering, what do I do with the property going forward? Those are three key things that you can take a look at. And of course, a part of it is going to be, is the timing right for you based on what you own and how the market is for that and the value is for that. So if you need any additional information on what to do as you're trying to determine the long-term plans for your properties, please reach out to me. And again, I appreciate you allowing me to be your real estate resource. Hey, don't forget to like and subscribe and reach out to me. Send me a quick message on any of the social platforms. Let me know what topics you want to know about along the Grand Strand or other coastal areas of South Carolina real estate markets.